This is the before reading plan. The book we'll be reading today is called Big Dog, Little Dog by P.D. Eastman. How many of you have big dogs at home? How about a little dog? We are going to be learning about two dogs named Ted and Fred who share more differences than just their size. The reason we are reading this book today is to show you all the differences people can share. As I read this story to you, I want you to listen to the opposites listed and think about what makes them so different. Is it something you like? Is it something you don't like? As you listen, see if you can point out the main objective. Think about what these characters may or may not be thinking about one another. Do they respect each other? Are they good friends to one another? And how do they interact? And then, before I begin reading the book, I will have students write down 5 things they like and 5 things they don't like, and then turn them into me, but they can't put their names at the top because it's an anonymous activity. This is the during the reading plan. So, Big Dog, Little Dog. Fred and Ted were friends. Fred was big. Ted was little. Fred always had money. Ted never had money. Take a look at the facial expressions on both of the dogs' faces. I want you to take a guess about what they are thinking and how having money or not having money makes these characters feel. When they walked in the rain, Fred was wet and Ted was dry. They both liked music. Fred played the flute and Ted played the tuba. Can anyone act out the different noises each of these instruments make? When they had dinner, Fred ate the spinach. Ted ate the beets. When they painted the house, Fred used green paint. Ted used red. One day, Ted and Fred went away in their cars. Fred went away in his green car. Ted went in his red car. Fred drove his car slowly. Ted drove his car fast. Ted came to a sign. On the sign, there's different destinations: the mall, the zoo, the beach, and Pittsburgh. Which place would you choose to go if you came to the sign? I would pick the beach because I love to play in the sand. So then at this point, I would have them turn to a partner and tell them why they chose this place, or where they would go and why they chose it. Where should we go? Asked Fred. To the mountains, said Ted. When they got to the mountains, Ted skied all day long. Fred skated. When they stopped, Fred was cold. Ted was warm. By night, both of them were very sleepy. Look, said Fred, a small hotel. Fred's room was upstairs. Ted's room was downstairs. Have you ever stayed in a hotel before? I stayed at one when I was in Florida with my family over break. So after my students answer that question and we get some chatter, I'll ask them, have you ever stayed in one with different levels? Because this one has upper and down. Good night, Ted. Sleep well, said Fred. Good night, Fred. Sleep well, said Ted. But they did not sleep well. Upstairs, Fred thumped and bumped and tossed and turned. Downstairs, Ted moaned and groaned and crashed and thrashed all over the bed. When morning came, Fred called Ted. Let's take a walk, said to Ted. Fred said to Ted. We can walk and talk, said Ted to Fred. They walked uphill. They walked downhill. They made tall talk. They made small talk. Did you get any sleep last night, Ted? None at all, Fred. My bed is too little. My bed is too big. What can we do about it, Ted? I don't know, Fred. I know what to do, said the bird. Ted should sleep upstairs, and Fred should sleep downstairs. The bird's got the word. What do you think the dog means by this phrase? How has the bird helped these dogs to make them speak this way of them? Back to bed, yelled Ted. Back to bed, yelled Fred. It's downstairs for me, yelled Fred. It's upstairs for me, yelled Ted. Ted jumped into the little bed upstairs. Fred jumped into the big bed downstairs. They slept all day long in the cozy little bed, and Fred slept all day long in the cozy big bed. Well, that was easy to do. Big dog needs big beds, and little dogs need little beds. Why make big problems out of little problems?